Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Just proud to be their coach and proud to coach at the university. And, we got some awesome kids, man. We got some really awesome kids. The coaches did a phenomenal job, I think, this year. Assistant coaches, everybody keeping everybody together and banding together. And so for that, I'm extremely proud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Monday. Brand new week, brand new month, and will Clemson have a brand new baseball coach come next season? That is the big question hanging over the Palmetto State here on the back end of Clemson going 0-2 again in regional play. And the comments in the post game the other night certainly had a funeral-like feel to it. They appeared to be dead men walking, the Tigers did, and talking about their coach from Jack Leggett through the players. And then, of course, when former players start to speak up in support of a coach who's under fire, that's not a good sign either, because I'm not sure that the athletic director is listening to what they have to say. Welcome into the show. Look forward to talking with you tonight. Phil Kornbluth coming to you from parts unknown on assignment for Sports Talk. K-Mac and the professor, Tom Hayes, back at our studios in downtown Columbia, along with the steak man, Graham Pope. Love to get your take on everything regarding Clemson baseball and stuff over the weekend. And as we move ahead, more football talk. Phil Steele's All-ACC, All-SEC, and All-American teams coming out today. We'll fill you in on that. College of Charleston baseball, they're still active. To some degree, they're in another rain delay in Tallahassee. That thing could take who knows how many more days to get over. So we'll update that in just a moment. But let me bring in K-Mac and the professor. You heard Jack's comments there and others like it after the game Saturday when they were eliminated. Didn't sound all confident and upbeat that he'll be back. I think he sees the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely on watch. And there's no doubt that there's been some slippage here over the past few seasons. But this notion, I will say this, and I was pointing this out Friday, this notion that the program has gone completely in reverse. The last 5 years, ACC finish second, tied for second, third, fifth. They've made the NCAA regionals all 5 of those years. Now, they haven't been to a super since 2011. I get that. But, I mean, they were in Omaha 5 years ago in 2010. It's not like they've had this 8-9 year drought where they're not making the postseason, where they're just spinning backwards. I think Jack Leggett has another run or two in him. I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity, but I think he's earned it after a great 22 years running that program and bringing it to the standard pro. It's his standard that they've slipped from. I mean, he built that standard.
And of course, the standard also is you never hear many problems coming out of his baseball program. They act like gentlemen. They represent the university. I get the feeling Jack has not been to a super regional, and the fact that the neighbors down a few miles have won a couple of championships. I think that combination is what's happening here.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment here on Sports Talk. Phone number here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Of course, the Twitter feed is @SportsTalkSC. It continues to be red hot with the talk about Clemson baseball, Jack Leggett, and some other things as well. I think the Dabo Swinney talk has kind of cooled off now, and everything's focused on Jack Leggett from a Clemson standpoint. The website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, you can like us there, Sports Talk Radio Network. Yeah, I was just thinking about this. It's been kind of a troubling week for Clemson athletics. When you think about all the stuff that's gone on, the Dabo Swinney, will he speak, will he not speak at the Palmetto Family Council, that situation, and the way it played out for several days through the local media and the national media as well before he finally decided to bow out. Then there was the departure of defensive end Ebenezer Okendek. His transfer, by the way, he's headed to Tennessee State. He announced that over the weekend. And so that's another negative mark. The golf team finished last at the NCAA tournament. So it's nice to make it into the championship round, but they finished dead last. And now you have this hovering over Jack Leggett. I have no idea. Well, I think I have an idea what Dan Radakovich is thinking. I mean, just based on last year, he wasn't happy with things in the baseball program. The end of last year kind of gave them a reprieve to show improvement this year. And in some ways they showed improvement, and in some ways they didn't. I mean, the bottom line is they went no further this year than they did last year. They made it to a regional, and they lost in 2 games. Mm-hmm. They didn't host a regional. Their overall record was not as good as it was last year. Their ACC record, I think, was maybe a game or 2 better. They did beat South Carolina in a series. They did sweep Florida State, so they had some high marks. So as you try to weigh these things out, that's sort of the good and the bad sort of balance out there. Dan Radakovich, here's something to ponder. I don't know if this is at all something you can apply in this case, but when he became the athletic director at Georgia Tech in 2006, his first year, Danny Hall, the coach there, and Georgia Tech went to the College World Series in 2006. But for the most of his time as the athletic director at Georgia Tech under Radakovich, the Georgia Tech baseball program slipped to the point where they didn't make the tournament this year. Of course, he's not the AD there. There was another year during his time there they didn't make the tournament. They never made it past the regional round. Now, much like Jack Leggett, Danny is I guess a Hall of Fame type of college baseball coach. He's got a tremendous record. He's been to the College World Series. He's got a really strong program. He's sent a lot of guys to professional baseball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I bring this up because Radakovich, whatever reason, sort of looked the other way when it came to the baseball program at Georgia Tech. And then, as far as I know, never really put his baseball coach under the microscope to the point where there was this heavy speculation about the job. Now, also, remember, in the last year or 2 of his time at Georgia Tech, he also had the rebuilding of the basketball arena going on. Mm-hmm. It made up a lot of his time and a lot of his money, and he focused on that and didn't worry so much about the baseball program. Well, now look here at Clemson. He comes to Clemson. The baseball program that when he got to Clemson had already started to take a little bit of a step back because it wasn't at the World Series when he first got to Clemson. This is his 3rd year, his 3rd baseball season, I believe. They've gone to a regional each time, but they haven't advanced. They do have the reconstruction of the basketball arena going on, which is taking up a lot of his time, energy, thought, and money. So I don't know if that is going to be a great enough diversion for him not to take time out to look at the baseball situation if indeed he thinks it needs additional attention and make a decision.
It's different, though, Corn, I think, and I don't know. I'm not as close, obviously, to the Georgia Tech baseball program or athletics programs as we are the Clemson program, but the fans had turned on Jack Leggett, and this isn't just a this year thing. They turned on him going back a few years, and Pro hit on it. South Carolina winning 2 national championships and directly going through Clemson in a couple of those runs to Omaha and into Omaha and beyond. That really stung a lot of Clemson fans and boosters. And then you parlay that with the couple of down seasons, and you're going to have recalibration years in college baseball. Ray Tanner had them. Augie Garrido's had them. I mean, Mike Martin's had them. Miami. When's the last time the Miami baseball team won a national championship? I mean, they have a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, so all of that combined has hurt Leggett. And if you look at what he's done, they're still averaging about 37 wins a year the past 5 seasons. They still have finished in the top half, really the top 2 in the ACC, top 3 every year sans this past year when they were 5th. They're not terrible. I mean, if you're going to run this guy up, a Hall of Famer who spent 22 years and led you to the postseason, 21 of those 22, and 6 trips to Omaha, you better have a slam dunk hire or a home run hire, if you want to use the baseball analogy, because you're going to be making a dicey move. And there is no guarantee that Monty Lee or anybody else is going to do a better job than Jack Leggett. It would be very difficult to do a better job than Jack Leggett has done over the past 2+ decades at Clemson.
And plus, I've always had the feeling, once I look around the country, if you get rid of a Hall of Fame coach, don't think that a lot of people come knocking at your door, because the first thing they're going to ask is, wait a minute. Now, you see what the guy you had there, look at his credentials. What do you want me to do? Make the World Series every year? Ain't going to happen. The only 2 things I could think off the cuff, Phil, that works against Jack are 2 of these, and that is, I'm not so certain that Georgia Tech, when you look at their program, the fan fervor for baseball is the same at Clemson. Plus, you're in a town where the Braves are sitting there in a major city. Now, you at the passion of fans at Clemson, and the fact because it's Clemson and where it's located, there are so many more money-making operations or opportunities, I should say, for your baseball program revenue-wise than would be at a Georgia Tech sitting in a major city with a major league team. So I think those 2 work against Jack.
Do not disagree. Do not disagree. But as I sit here, I can't logically think of a reason why a change should be made. And look, we're not that close to the Clemson baseball program. I see them 3 times a year, 3 games a year. That's when they play South Carolina. It just doesn't work out very much for us to get to see them. We see them 3 games a year, then we pick them up in the postseason. That's our exposure directly. Now, we do have Coach Leggett on the program on a pretty regular basis when he's able to come on, and we have an assistant coach on from time to time as well. So I'm not speaking from the standpoint of like some of the website guys who are very close to that program and are pitching a strong fight to keep Jack Leggett for whatever reasons. I'm looking at it from a distance here, and I can't see a logical reason for making a change. The NCAA tournament should be here, and if you're making the NCAA tournament, there should be no questions asked. Everything else considered, there should be no questions asked. Clemson has some obstacles when it comes to baseball in competing with teams in its neighborhood from the SEC, as we all know, and also right here in South Carolina, as we know. That's been a little bit of a undoing for them. They have tried to catch up with Doug Kingsmore Stadium improvements, and they're working in that direction. But you're right. If you fire Jack Leggett, then you better have Casey Stengel or somebody of that ilk.
Is Joe Torre coming out of retirement? I mean, even then.
You're not going to get people, the Tiger fans who think Kevin O'Sullivan's going to drop his cleats in Gainesville and come running to Clemson. You're crazy.
To replace his mentor, and Foley's just going to let him walk out the door. Okay, go on back. We'll find somebody else. And Corbin at Vanderbilt. These are all their pipe dreams, number one. And again, would you sign up for those guys to make the postseason 21 out of 22 years and go to Omaha 6 times? You probably would, which is what Leggett has done.
I will say this. If a team thought their coach was going to get fired, that team didn't show it. Because if they did, down 7-0, they'd have packed it in. They wouldn't have took the lead. But again, the bullpen failed them late. But that team fought to the end against Pepperdine in that game too.